If there's one thing that strikes terror in the heart of most coaches, it's cold DMs. There's nothing worse than getting a random sales pitch from a complete stranger on Instagram. And after getting so many of these weird salesy DMs, most coaches swear they'll never cold DM another soul. But here's the truth. Cold DMs can be a great way of growing your coaching business and getting clients. And when done the right way, they don't have to come off as pushy, salesy, or weird. So if you're ready to discover how you can use cold DMs in an ethical, heart-centered way to get high-paying coaching clients consistently, keep watching, because I'm about to show you how. Hey, my name's Jason Moss. I'm a multi-six-figure business coach, and I've helped thousands of coaches around the world launch and grow their businesses. And look, the tips I'm about to share with you in this video, super powerful stuff when it comes to getting clients. But if you're looking for a roadmap you can follow to attract 2, 3, 4 high-paying coaching clients month after month, I put together a free client attraction guide that walks through the strategy I share to help my clients do that. You can get this completely free by clicking the link above or in the description down below. So when it comes to doing cold DMs well, I've got 5 tips I wanna share with you in this video to help you do that. And if you follow these tips, you're gonna be well ahead of most of the other weird, sleazy DMs that you get out there. It's gonna be much easier to be able to connect authentically with potential clients in a way that feels good and also creates results for you and your business. Tip number 1 is to make it personal. The number 1 reason why cold DMs come off as salesy or sleazy or just weird is people send out sales pitches that are completely impersonal. They're not customized. They're not like tailored to the specific person they're reaching out to. They're trying to sell way too quickly versus focusing on like, how do we just open up the door for a conversation? So if you are gonna use cold DMs, what I would recommend is more of a personalized approach where you send a message to somebody that's just designed to open up a conversation. The best way to do this, I've found, is just with compliments. Pick out something on that person's profile, or if they're a business owner, on their website, or on their Facebook page. Pick out something that's personal and unique to them and send them a message and say, hey, I really love the work that you're doing here. I listen to this podcast that you were on and I really loved that, or just really appreciate the work that you're doing, period. No question, no additional information about a sales pitch, nothing like that. Really, this first message is just designed to open up a conversation. And this way of communicating is so much better than I think, what I see from most cold DMs out there. It's more personal, it's just more inviting, puts people less on the defense. It's gonna make people much less likely to actually feel like you're like this weird salesy sleazeball. So I would definitely recommend an approach like this when it comes to cold DMs and reaching out to people for the first time. Number 2 is to play the long game. Number 1 reason I think most people mess up in terms of marketing in general, but definitely when it comes to cold DMs and outreach, is that they're treating people as transactions and they're looking at things in a far too short-term focus kind of way, which is how do I get the sale? How do I get the call? How do I get the close right away? Rather than how do I build a long-term relationship with someone who over time can warm up to me and over time can start to see me as someone who they trust. The truth is that relationships take time to build. And so if you're looking for some kind of script that you can just send in like 3 messages to get somebody on a phone call and buying your programs or enrolled in what you do, you're thinking about it too fast and you're gonna burn a lot of leads in that process. So instead, take more of a relational approach. And if you are engaging with people, remember, this is just the first interaction that you might have with someone. And even if you just send a message to someone and you share like a genuine compliment and that's it, and maybe it just stops there, now that person is in your world and they're a little bit more engaged with you and they're probably gonna see more of your content on social media because the algorithm is gonna start to show them more of what you do because it sees that you had a conversation with them and thinks that you're friends. And so you're gonna start to see that that's an opportunity to build a deeper connection and relationship. When I look at my marketing funnel today and the way that we do business, it really happens over time. And I treat marketing as that long-term relationship building, which has been so important to my success. It's very tempting to take a short-term view, and I've struggled with this in the past and still do to a certain extent, to start to treat people in a more transactional way, especially when it comes to cold DMs. But remember, you're playing the long game, you're building relationships, and if you can keep that in mind and treat your job as like every day I'm just here planting seeds. I'm not necessarily harvesting those seeds right away, but I'm planting seeds through conversations. Then over time, over months, over sometimes years, like those seeds will grow and materialize into leads and new clients. Number 3 is to get curious. So I have a rule that I basically follow when it comes to any conversation that I'm having with a potential client, which is I don't pitch anything until I know that what I'm pitching is relevant to them and can actually help them. So all of these cold DMs that you might get where somebody's like trying to sell you on a solution when they don't even know if you have a problem, the reason why it comes off as aggressive and as salesy is because this person has skipped steps. They haven't diagnosed. It's like a doctor. You go into the doctor's office. What is the doctor going to do first? They're going to ask some questions. They're not going to say, hey, I have this pill in my back pocket. This is what I think you need. That would be malpractice, right? But so many times people do this when it comes to cold DMs. It's like they're prescribing a solution before they even know if the person they're talking to has a problem that they can help with. So rather than putting yourself in this position, it's far better to just get curious. And once you've built a little bit of rapport with someone, you can ask some questions. Like, if I'm talking to a coach, I might be saying, well, tell me about what you're up to in your coaching business, or how have things been going in your business overall? Like questions that help illuminate potential issues or challenges or roadblocks that they might be experiencing that I can help with. And getting curious and asking those questions through your cold DMs is how you can figure out whether or not there's a real problem that you can actually address through what you do. And I don't want you to pitch anything until you have that information to really be able to understand, like, hey, does somebody have a gap here that I can fill? And if so, great, we can talk about next steps. But if not, it doesn't make any sense to be able to kind of open up that door. Number 4 is to go for a first date pitch. I think of marketing very much like dating or courtship, because it's really actually quite similar. Like the process of building relationship, cultivating leads is very similar to the process of getting to know someone on an intimate basis, on a romantic basis. And just like there's things that you would maybe say on like date 4 or date 5 that you wouldn't say on date 1, the same thing goes for marketing and for cold DMs. The same approach applies. So I think where a lot of people get tripped up in terms of cold DMs is they're trying to go for things that make sense for like date 4 in their pitches, but don't make sense for the level of intimacy that person currently is at in terms of their relationship with you. Like they're still really like, they're probably like still like, who is this person? Like I'm just building trust. I barely know them. They just randomly DM me out of the blue and you're already trying to get on a call with me. Like it's too much too soon. Rather than doing that, I recommend having some kind of pitch. If you are going to pitch like a next step, or once you've asked some questions or done some exploration, like really inviting somebody to some next step, that's something that would be appropriate for like a first date, which generally is like a free training or a free guide or free resource, or even inviting them to join like a Facebook group or a community. Generally, like the approach for that usually works best is to have some kind of like a free resource or free training inside the Facebook group that you can pitch rather than a Facebook group itself, because people don't really care about joining a Facebook group. What they really care about is getting some kind of solution to their problem, right? So if I was having a cold DM conversation with someone, maybe I asked them a couple questions and I found out, that they're having a little bit of trouble getting clients in their coaching business, I might say something like, well, thanks for sharing that with me. We actually have this awesome free training that walks through 10 of, my best tips when it comes to getting coaching clients in your business. I'd love to share it with you. Is that something you might want to check out? And just inviting them into that. It's a free resource. They don't have to pay for it. They also don't have to get on the phone with me. And it's an opportunity that I have to build a little bit of a deeper relationship with that person and to build a little bit of trust. And through that conversation, that interaction, I'm not jumping steps. I'm not hopping to the finish line. I'm just saying, hey, like here's this free thing that's going to be valuable and useful for you. So playing, again, the long game, recognizing that in early stages of building a relationship with someone, really the best way to do that is to deliver value and create value, delivering something, giving them something that's going to be helpful and useful for free. And also one other principle here is, you probably noticed this in the way that I frame that pitch, I'm always asking for permission before I give somebody a link or before I send them something. So, they are bought into this process. They have the ability to say no if they don't want something. And just creating that enrollment through asking somebody like, hey, would you like to check this out, versus just like spamming them links. I see a lot of people doing this. I get this stuff sometimes where it's like, just get random links from strangers. It's like, I didn't ask for this. You didn't ask my permission. So asking someone's permission as well, and making sure that whatever you are pitching, if you are going to pitch something, is relevant for the specific stage that they're at in terms of getting to know you, which is generally going to be like a free training, free resource, something that they can check out that's not like a super deep dive thing that doesn't involve them like getting on a call with you. Something of that nature is usually going to be best. And then tip number 5 is to avoid excessive follow-ups. This might fly in the face of things that you've heard from other business coaches who tell you, follow up, follow up, follow up. You need to follow up like 22,000 times and send people all these random DMs. And if they don't reply, follow up 5, 6, 7 times. Personally, I never liked that. I didn't feel good about it when I tried it. And it's also just weirdly aggressive. And when someone is choosing not to reply to you, there's typically a reason for it. And so sending like 5 follow-up messages generally is just gonna leave a bad taste in that person's mouth and make it much less likely that they're gonna engage with you down the line. 1 follow-up message, something like that is fine. Like, I'm not saying don't do any follow-up, but especially with like cold DMs and more front like end outreach, people who don't know you that you're connected with, like, I definitely would not recommend being super heavy-handed on follow-up. Actually, an interesting point on this, a while back in my business, we did some data crunching on all of our sales calls and our sales process, and we looked at the impact that follow-ups have on our sales call process and our close rate and the likelihood that a client was to sign on board and how good of a client they were, depending on how many times we followed up with them. And what we found was very interesting. Number 1 was anything more than 1 follow-up throughout the sales process actually did not produce meaningful results. In other words, it didn't actually increase the likelihood that clients were going to sign up to work with us. Maybe a little bit, but it wasn't worth all the hassle and the energy of actually doing those follow-ups. And number 2, this was also very interesting. The people that we followed up with more generally tended to be worse clients. And they were more likely to have issues with payments down the line and problems and challenges throughout the course of actually working with us. So what this showed me is that the people who you're really wanting to connect with are the people who are generally going to be engaged on the front end. You send a message to them. You're not going to have to be dragging them through your process and following up with them 15,000 times. They're the people who are going to want to engage with you. So all this being said, I'd recommend keeping follow-ups to a minimum. And if you are going to do maybe 1 follow-up during that process, if you don't get a reply from someone, that's fine. Anything more than that, I'd probably say avoid it, especially when it comes to cold DMs. So I'm hoping these tips will spark a revolution in our business, in our industry. So we get less of these like weird spammy DMs that just make you want to like wash your mouth out with soap, and more DMs that actually feel more authentic, more heart-centered, more human first, and that actually reflect the way that we really want to engage with others in the world. Now, as I mentioned earlier, cold DMs, great strategy when it comes to growing your coaching business. But if you're really looking to dive deeper and get a roadmap that you can follow to attract 2, 3, 4 high-paying coaching clients month after month into your coaching business, I recommend that you download our free client attraction guide that walks through so much more of my best advice in terms of making that happen. You can get it completely free. Just click the link above or in the description down below right now. And if you enjoyed this video, you're definitely gonna love that one too. So click the link on the screen to go check that out, and I'll see you in the next video.